Assalamu alaikum viewers. Welcome to another edition of Defense and Diplomacy. I'm your host, Sultan M. Hali. Since time immemorial, athletes and sportspersons have been considered the ambassadors of the nation. For they wear the national color, keep the national flag aloft, for they represent the hopes and aspirations of the nation for glory. Viewers, Pakistan is currently passing through one of its worst moments in history. It is under the effects of a tremendous deluge. There are constant waves of terrorism. There is a terrible economic crunch. But we have been hit by yet another calamity. And unfortunately, this one is man-made. I'm referring to the British tabloids' allegations against the Pakistan cricket team's spot-fixing scandal. To discuss this burning issue, we are indebted to have in our studio today Ambassador Shafqat Kakahel, who himself has flown the national flag in various capitals of the world. Welcome, sir. And we have with us Dr. Zafar Altaf, who is a former chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board. Welcome, Dr. Sir. Ambassador, let's commence the debate with you. What is your opinion of sportspersons being the ambassadors of the nation?
Well, in your introductory remarks, you observed quite rightly that since times immemorial, sportspersons have played the role of diplomats. If anything, during the past 50 or 60 years since the Second World War, the role of sports people and indeed the role of other representatives of business, of fine arts, in promoting the objectives of their country's diplomacy, those roles have been enhanced. In the case of cricket, of course, we remember the so-called cricket diplomacy between Pakistan and India in the 1980s, when our historically difficult relations were going through one of those periods of trial and tribulation. And the cricket matches that were held, which brought hundreds of thousands of spectators and also facilitated high-level meetings, helped in easing the atmosphere, the overall atmosphere between our two neighboring countries. It is extremely important for sports persons to follow, to adhere to, and to demonstrate the highest standards of ethics, of ethical behavior in their activities in the fields of sports as well as outside the arena of sports. And if you look at our history, our sports people have indeed played that role, with very few exceptions which have happened in the past few years. Our sport persons have been magnificent ambassadors of their country,
right,
and have played a vital role.
Okay, sir. Dr. Zafar Altaf, how do you view this current episode in our country's history in which a very serious allegation has been made?
I've been involved in cricket now for over 50 years.
That's a lifetime.
So that's a lifetime. And I've played practically every aspect of the game. This is unheard of, unthinkable, in the sense that you don't only have to be ethical so far as the game is concerned, you are also part of an ethical system of a nation. And therefore, anything that is contrary to that ethical aspect cannot be acceptable. Our skippers were Kardar, Fazal. People were given to high standards of ethics. In fact, they were denying themselves all the pleasures while they were playing for this country, mindful of one aspect only, that you cannot bring a black spot to the nation. In fact, when I was going to Australia with the team as manager in 1973, we had just had the debacle in East Pakistan. And Shahid Zulfikar Ali Bhutto came to see us off. When he asked Skipper Kardar, who's the manager? He pointed to me and he said, isn't he a bit young for this post? Years have gone by since. And he said, young man, I don't mind your winning or losing. What I do mind is that on the field and off the field, you will have to be ethically very proper, very careful, We've already had one debacle. We don't want another debacle. We don't want a debacle in sports, because a debacle in sports hangs around your neck all your life.
It's like a millstone.
It's like a millstone. It stays with you, and therefore, in fact, ethics in sports should mirror the ethics in a society, not the other way around.
True.
Now, what have we been doing? We've messed that part up altogether. And I think, I'll tell you of an incident.
Please
Sir Donald Bradman has never travelled outside in Australia after 1948, but he was the manager of the team, Commonwealth team, which was Gary Sobers as captain. And we had two Pakistani players, Asif Masood and Intikhab Alam. And he spoke at the mayor's reception for 1.5 hours on the personality of Pakistan based on those two guys. Now, those two cricketers were ethical cricketers of the highest order. And he spoke for 1.5 hours, and he said, look, I've never been to Pakistan, but these two guys, their personality portrays something to me, which I must bring out for the benefit of those Australians who have never been to Australia, to Pakistan, or never met any Pakistani. And that was the culture of it. In fact, I asked him to come to the nets, and he said, I'm an Australian. I said, no, you're not an Australian. You belong to cricket. So you come. And he came 3 days running. So there is a camaraderie as well, there's a competitive edge as well, but there is never an indecent competitive edge. There's always, we used to applaud the other cricketers for their stroke play. We used to acknowledge a good bowling delivery. Now you find people, with all kinds of frowns on their face and their teeth gritting away. Materialism has eaten into the game. And that materialism is possible to be sorted out. That's not a problem. The ethical part is primary, because if you are disciplined, a good team becomes a very good team, and a very good team becomes an excellent team.
Right. Ambassador, let's come to this particular instance where an allegation has been made. And it's probably part of a sting operation, what we call an entrapment. From the nuances of diplomacy, how do you look at it?
Well, as far as diplomats are concerned, in fact, most people would agree that allegations are allegations until they are proved. And the ICC has a very robust process of investigating allegations of misbehavior or misdeeds. And ideally, we should wait until the charges, the very serious charges against our team, are proved right or otherwise. Unfortunately, considerable damage has already been done, regardless of the final outcome of the investigations. And this is because at the moment, the Islamic world in general and Pakistan in particular is in the eye of the storm. The attention, the eyes of the whole world are focused on the multiple challenges that we in Pakistan face, whether it's the so-called war against terrorism, the terroristic incidents within Pakistan, and more recently these floods of biblical proportions, which have made life miserable with 20 million
So
people
we need all the
displaced.
goodwill.
We needed every iota, every bit of the goodwill, sympathy and support for the governments of the world and for the 10 million or so Pakistani expatriates who are emotionally an integral part of this nation and who feel for their nation. How embarrassed they feel, only those of us who have friends and family abroad, they know that.
Right. So Dr. Zafar Altaf, the sportsman, when he goes abroad, he is like he's been a diplomat, and I've also incidentally served as a